Chapter 10. The little prince found himself close to the asteroids 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. He started visiting them one by one, so he would have something to do as well as be able to learn about the universe. The first asteroid was inhabited by a king. Clad in royal purple and ermine, he sat up on a throne that was both simple and regal. "Ah, a subject," exclaimed the king when he saw the little prince approach. "But how could he know me? He has never met me before," thought the little prince. "Come closer, so that I may see you better," said the king, feeling glad that he could finally rule over someone. The little prince looked around to find something to sit on, but the planet was completely covered by the king's magnificent robe. So he remained standing, and since he was tired, he started to yarn. "It is not polite to yarn in the presence of a king," said the emperor. "I forbid you to do so." "I can't help myself," replied the little prince, red-faced. "I have come a long way, and I have had no sleep." "Then I command you to yarn," the king said. "I have not witnessed a yarn in years." I am feeling shy," murmured the little prince. Replied the king. "Then I order you to sometimes yarn and sometimes not." He paused, looking a little uncertain. What the king really wanted was respect for his authority. He did not wish for any disobedience. He was an emperor through and through. But he was also a kind man, so his orders were always reasonable. "If I demand that a general," he would frequently say, "should transform into a seabird, and if the general is unable to do so, that would not be his fault. It will be mine." "May I sit down?" the little prince inquired timidly. "I command you to sit," the king answered, and majestically gathered in a fold of his ermine robe to make room. The little prince was wondering. The planet was really small. What was it that king reigned over? "Your Majesty," he said to the king, "could I ask you a question?" "I command you to ask me a question," the king hastily replied. "Sire, over what do you rule?" "Over everything," said the king, with great simplicity. "Over everything?" With a sweeping gesture, the king indicated his planet, the other planets, and all the stars. "Over all that?" asked the little prince. "Over all that," the king answered, After all, his rule was not only absolute, it was also universal. And do the stars obey you? Certainly they do, the king said. They obey instantly. I do not permit wild behavior. The little prince marveled at such power. If he wielded such authority, he would not watch only 44 sunsets a day, but 72 or 100, or even 200, without ever having to move his chair. Feeling a little homesick as he remembered the planet he had forsaken, he dared to ask a king for a favor. I would love to see a sunset. Could you order the sun to set for me? If I commanded a general to dart from flower to flower like a butterfly, or to write a tragedy, or to turn into a seabird, and if the general defied the order, who would be in the wrong? The king demanded. Him or myself? You, the little prince said firmly. That is right. We must demand that can be given, the king went on. Authority basically rests on reason. If you commanded your subjects to throw themselves into the sea, they would be mutiny. I demand obedience because my orders are reasonable. But what about my sunset? The little prince reminded him. He could never let a question be. You shall have your sunset. I shall command it. But I will await the right conditions. When would that be? Inquired the little prince. Replied the king, carefully examining a massive calendar. That will be at about 20 minutes to 8 this evening. And you will see then how well my commands are obeyed. The little prince yawned. He was unhappy to have forgone his sunset, and he was also a little bored. There's nothing else for me to do here, he said to the king. I am going to continue my travels now. You can't leave, said the king, who was very proud to have a subject. You must not leave. I will make you a minister. Minister of what? Minister of justice. But there is no one here I could judge. How could we know? The king said to him. I have not yet surveyed the whole kingdom. I am very old. There is no room here for a carriage, and walking tires me easily. Oh, but I have looked already, said the little prince, turning around to give all sides of the planet another glance. There is no one anywhere. then you must judge yourself, said the king. It is the hardest thing to do. It is much more difficult to judge oneself than to judge others. But if you succeed, then you are indeed a wise man. Yes, said the little prince, but to judge myself I do not need to live here. I can do it anywhere. Said the king. I believe that somewhere on my planet there is an old rat. I can hear him at night. You could judge him. From time to time, you will condemn him to death, so that his wife will depend on your justice. But you must forgive him each time, and so spare his life. He is the only rat we have. I wouldn't like to condemn anyone to death, said the little prince. I think I shall be off now. No, said the king. But the little prince was all set to depart, though he did not wish to hurt the old monarch. If your majesty wishes to be obeyed, he said, he could give me a reasonable order. He could, for example, command me to be gone within a minute. The conditions seem quite favorable. The king gave no answer. The little prince hesitated for a second. Then, with a sigh, he got up to leave. I will make you my ambassador, the king called out in haste. He exuded such authority. Grown-ups really are peculiar, the little prince said to himself as he resumed his journey. Chapter 11. On the second planet lived a show-off. Aha! I see an admirer, he declared from afar as soon as he spotted the little prince. For a show-off, everyone is an admirer. Hello, said the little prince. What an odd hat! It is a hat I raise as I bow, the show-off replied. I raise it when I am praised. Unfortunately, nobody ever goes through here. Oh, said the confused little prince. Clap your hands, the show-off said to him. When the little prince did so, the show-off raised his hat in a modest salute. This is much more amusing than the visit to the king, the little prince said to himself. And he began to clap his hands again. The show-off raised his hat in acknowledgement. After 5 minutes of this exercise, the little prince grew weary. And what should I do to drop your hat to the floor? He asked. But the show-off did not hear him. Show-offs are deaf to everything but praise. Do you really find me very admirable? He asked the little prince. What do you mean by admirable? It means you regard me as the handsomest, smartest, richest, and wisest man on this planet. But you are the only one on this planet. Nevertheless, admire me so I may feel happy. I admire you, said the little prince, shrugging his shoulders slightly. But But, why does this matter to you so much? Saying this, the little prince went away. Grown-ups really are peculiar, he said to himself, as he continued on his way.